My name is Hauwa and I'm the Student Campaigns Lead. As part of our ongoing campaign to raise awareness about students' rights and support services, I'm speaking with key staff members to help students better understand what is available to them. Before we dive into the questions, could you please briefly introduce yourself and your role in the university?
Hi, Hauwa. Nice to meet you again, and thank you so much for thinking of us. I think this is a really important area that a lot of students will hopefully find interesting and informative. But to introduce myself, my name is John Stanley, and I'm Head of Student Support at the university.
Okay, amazing. So as I said earlier, we're raising awareness on different topics, and today's topic is mitigation. So I'll start. Could you please tell us what mitigation is?
Yeah, no problem at all. Now, mitigation, it's one of those terms that students sometimes find confusing. I think it's an old Latin term or something like that. But in essence, if you're a student and you can't submit a piece of work on time, you need to apply for mitigation. So in essence, you're asking for an extension to a piece of work, or if you can't sit an exam or a presentation at a particular point, you need to apply for mitigation. So mitigation in its essence is kind of extensions to pieces of work.
Okay. When should a student consider applying for mitigation?
I would always say consider applying as soon as you know something is wrong. So if your assignment is due on Friday, it's Monday, you start to feel run down, you're starting to feel a little bit fluey or something like that. I would advise you to apply at that point, because if you start to feel worse, the last thing you want to do is start firing up your laptop and applying for mitigation and trying to sort out extensions when you're already feeling run down. So, and I've just given an example of illness there, but if you've needed to travel to visit a family member if they're unwell, or supporting another member of your family, as soon as you're aware that something may impact on you, hitting the deadline, that's when you should start to contact us. And generally, we would want you to contact us before the deadline for the piece of work. There are exceptions to that, obviously, if you're, kind of driving down for a presentation and you're involved in a car accident. We don't expect you to text us on the M1. But generally, as soon as you're unwell, or as soon as you know you're not able to make the deadline, just get in contact with us and we can guide you through the process.
Okay. Speaking of processes, could you please walk us through the process? How do they find where to apply for mitigation, and what's the process like?
Yeah, no problem. I can do this one of two ways. Do you want me to share my screen and talk you through the website and the form, or would you like me to just talk through an overview of it?
I think sharing a screen will be very helpful.
Yeah, this is my tech skills student, so some of you computer folks will be able to teach me how to do this better, but let's see if I can get this working for you. So hopefully you will be able to see my screen now. Is that correct?
Yes, now I can.
Yep. So on the main university website, you'll see it's beds.ac.uk. If you do /support or /student support, that will take you to the student support section of the website. And this will cover a lot of the support services available to you. So we've got mental health, disability support, the community and faith team, the student money advice, counselling, student engagement. But in terms of this video, we're going to be looking at the mitigation one. And as it says here, can't hand in a piece of work or sit an exam. So here we have a little bar at the top, just letting students know when the next deadline is. And there's a description here of the mitigating circumstances. So some broad areas, what we've talked about here. We'll talk about more in the next questions. So I think just about some of the criteria. We've got a copy of the policy. Nobody reads it. Maybe you will be our first student, but there is a copy of the policy there. But the one that a lot of students will come straight to is our form. And this form will just give you a brief introduction and a guidance of the sorts of criteria we look for. We ask you to tick it. So, and I know we're going to talk about this later. So the form covers all circumstances of not being able to hand in a piece of work on time, both if you're applying with evidence and if you're not applying with evidence. I sometimes use evidence, I will sometimes use the term documentation, but if you're unwell and you're going to provide a GP note, we would refer to that as evidence or documentation. If you're just a little bit unwell and you don't need to go and see a GP or anything like that, that would be referred to as a self-cert. But I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, so I won't dwell on that circumstance here. But in essence, this is the part of the form where we need you to fill it in. Okay. And hopefully you will know all of these details. Hopefully you will at least know your name and your student number. If you started your course this year, it will likely begin with 2.5. If you started in September 24, it will start with a 2.4, or February 24. If you started in 2023, it will likely start 2.3. So if you're not sure of your student number, pop to the SID desk. We'll be able to provide you that information there. And please also include your course title and if you're studying full-time or part-time. We ask for full-time or part-time because there are some parameters where we can look at supporting you if you're a part-time student. So if you're working part-time along, kind of working full-time in another job, we can look at work pressures and things like that. So just a simple FT or full-time or PT part-time, please put that in the box. And the next section is the one that sometimes catches students out. So the unit code, this is the unit that you are looking to apply for. So we've given an example, and some students copy this, where we put AAA 001. You're not studying AAA 001. So for an example, if you're on a law course, your unit code will likely start LAW. You can find it on all of your assessment briefs. It will be the first three letters, and then they'll give you a little unit code afterwards. So for instance, it might be LAW017-1. And the number after the dash, that lets us know what year of study you're in. So if it's a 1, you're in the first year of your degree course. If it's a 2, you're in the second year. If it's a 3, you're in your third year. If it's a 6, you're on a postgraduate course. So that will hopefully help to guide you as well. And the assessment type, and this is an important part, we need to know what sort of assessment you're unable to submit, because some pieces of work we can provide short-term extensions on, things like assignments or a reflective log, a written piece of work. If it's a presentation or if it's an exam, we can't give you a 7-day extension on that. We would award what's called a resit, but I know we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail later. So in essence, that's what I'm asking for here. Just what type of assessment is it? And it might be an in-class test, or if you're a nursing student, it might be a BIVA or an OSCE. And then the assessment number. So most units that you study, you will be assessed at 1 or 2 points. Usually, if you're a September start, it will normally be the first assessment will be kind of November, maybe early December time, and the second assessment might be after the Christmas period. If it's a throughout year unit, it will be, perhaps in April. So it's really which assessment are you applying for this unit? Normally it's 2 assessments. Is it the first assessment? Is it the second assessment? And then just let us know what the due date is for the piece of work. And again, you should know this, but it will be on Brio. And then a really brief description of what's going on. We don't need, kind of sort of blow-by-blow accounts or descriptions of wounds or injuries or anything like that. Just, I've been feeling a bit run down for a few days. I need to self-cert. Or my nan's not very well. She's gone into hospital. I've had to go and visit her. Just a really brief overview of what the situation is. And then we just need you to sign, and you can type your name in this one and just a date, so we know when you're applying for the assessment. There's a little declaration and a confidentiality clause here. And in essence, this is just telling you how long we'll hold on to your form for, because we will normally keep it for the duration of your studies. And we do this, one, because we know you've then applied for an extension, but also sometimes a student may have recurring circumstances that's impacting on their abilities to study. And we might look at it and go, actually, John's applied for mitigation a few times due to stress. Maybe he needs to have a chat with one of the health and wellbeing team and see if there's any additional support. And if you say, no, I don't want any additional support, that's absolutely fine. But we would want to just check in and make sure that you're aware of the support. So hopefully that's given you a brief, hopefully that's given you a brief overview of the mitigation form.
Yes, it has. Thank you very much. Very, very informative. So my next question. How often can a student apply for mitigation?
Yeah, no problem. It's a good question. There's a couple of answers on this one. I will say, in terms of mitigation, you can apply as often as you are impacted on your assessments. Now, with the form that you may have just seen there, we do allow you to apply for up to 3 assessments on that form, or 4, and often you will have 3 or 4 assessments in, broadly speaking, a similar period. So you could put all 4 of those assessments on one form. You can do it 4 separate forms if you thought you were going to hit a deadline, because I know quite often you might have a, 4 assessments due that, within a 4 or 5 week period. You can put them all on the form, or you could apply separately for them if you're thinking you can get them done and then you realise you can't. So in essence, you can apply for mitigation as many times as you need. If you need to provide supporting evidence, just provide that supporting evidence with us. If it's, for instance, if you're ill, it would be a doctor's letter. If you've been called up for jury service, just provide a copy of the jury service letter, and that will let us know that you've been called to a court case, and it likely will run from November to December. And we can then look at that and say, yes, I can see how assessments are likely to be impacted. If you're going to self-certify, now a self-certify is where you're not providing any evidence. You're just saying, I'm not feeling great. I don't need to go and see a GP, and we don't want you to. If you're just a little bit run down, there's no point phoning up your GP, trying to get an appointment on the day. We're very aware of a GP appointment is like gold dust. So if you're just feeling a bit run down, but you can likely get better with I'll say over-the-counter medication. I was going to say, I've got to say it anyway. If you can help yourself with Lemsip or another of those sorts of drinks, many other brands are out there, and you just need a bit of rest, get yourself under a duvet, kind of get yourself better, but you don't need to see a GP. We allow you to self-certify 3 times in an academic year. And for a lot of our undergraduate students and some of our postgraduate students as well, you'll actually notice that will cover most of your assessments. Because if you're ill during that first assessment window, you can list a couple of assessments on there. So you will be able to cover a lot of your assessments, but really should only be applying for mitigation if you are, you can't hit that deadline, but I would encourage you to do it. But we allow you to self-certify 3 times in an academic year. But if you are struggling and you need additional support, absolutely just reach out to the team. We can get you an appointment with one of our student engagement advisors, and they'll be able to chat to you about your circumstances in more detail. So in essence, don't panic is what I would say.
Okay, great. I was gonna ask you what